Hey guys, welcome to my channel once again. I am Jiya and we are on our third lesson. If you missed the last lessons, please go and see them. So today we are going to be starting with some revision. So this is everything that we have learned today now. Let's go through it. Concepts that we have learned today now. What is Python and why is it used? Data types, variables, inputs and outputs, and operations. Let's revise. So Python is an object-oriented language. It is used to code artificial intelligence, apps, softwares, etc. So python.org is the website from which you can download the Python console. Data types. Data types are the types of data found in Python. There are many data types, but the main data types include strings, which are words or sentences or letters from the alphabet, integers, which are whole numbers, floats, which are not whole numbers, they don't have to be whole numbers, booleans, which are true or false statements, comments are lines to describe a program like hi, and none is like a data type that is shown like if you have nothing in something, that's what none is used for. Binary, octet, hexadecimal numbers. So binary numbers have to be written like with 0 and then a capital B or a small b and then the number in binary code, and hexa are written with O and X, while octa is written with O and 0 and O. Few extra things that we have learned in this concept. Type. Type module is used to find the data type, but you need to print it to see what data type it is. Conversion of data types. These include integers, floats, and strings. For converting binary, hexadecimals, and octal numbers, this would be in inverted commas and integer and plus the string of the number, and then 2 which is for binary, 16 for hexadecimal, and 8 for octet have to be written. So these are a few snippets from the code. Like if you see in the top left corner, it is an example of a string. Why the second variable is of an integer, the third is of a float, and the fourth is of a boolean. And we printed their types, and it came respectively string, integer, float, and boolean. Now, the first one in the big box is a non-data type, while there's a binary, octet, hexadecimal, float, and integer, and a string there. So if you need to convert binary to integer, you will use the int data type and then the binary, then the variable or the number, which should be an inverted commas, and 2, 8, or 16 respectively. So if we try to float an integer, it would come with a trailing point and a 0, and these are all the conversions of the binary and octet numbers and hexadecimal numbers. So let's go next. Variables. Variables are like containers. They contain all the data in a program. They can be modified. No variable can start with a number or symbol. Constants are variables that are supposed to be constant or same. We always have to use a variable name that makes sense. For example, name equals to Jiya, age is equal to 12, eye color is equal to black. So one thing I missed in this is that all constants have to be written with caps lock, even though that is not necessary, but it is a good practice. Like if you can see, like in the not good variable is age is written in full caps lock, which is not true. Our age changes every year. And iColor is written back, but there is a space between it. And Python will regard it as two different variables, I and color, if we put a space. And then the third one doesn't make any sense. Inputs and output statements. Inputs are statements that allow the user to give values to the program. Input statements by default are string data types, but can be converted to other data types. Output statements are statements that allow the user to see what the computer's final answer is. We can do like a name is equal to input your name, and then it would print the name and the type of the name. So like I did it with mine, and the type is always a string if you don't convert it. Now, print statement can be written a couple of ways. Like if it is just a string, then you can just write the string. You can put variables which would, whatever the value of the variables would be printed, objects, strings plus variables. You can put like a plus also, it works, and it works with a comma too, and formatted strings. Inputs are like in inputs we can convert it like at that time only integer and input statement, float and input statement. Basic operations. So these include addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Modulus, which like if you saw my other two videos, you would know what it is. So it's basically just the remainder of the division. Par and floor division. And floor division just rounds up your number so you don't get a decimal with it. So arithmetic operators are the basic operations. Assignment operations are used to assign values, and they can be used to do operations with the variable. Like if we have to write like x is equal to x plus y, we can always write it as x plus equal y, and this can be done with all the other basic operations. And unary minus operator, which just like if you put 1 and like minus, and you put like if you do a variable which is equal to a variable which is equal to 1, and you put print minus a or the variable name, then it would print -1 and not 1. Relation statements, these are used to compare variables. Logical statements and, or, and not. Booleans, and in Boolean, if you want to make, if both are true, then do this. If one is true while the other is not, then you can do this. And not is like, if this is not true, then do this. Bitwise operators are used with binary numbers. Membership operators check if something is in another thing. And identity is like if one plus 2 is equal to 3, then do this. And then there are some examples on the right hand side. So more than one values can be assigned to a variable in the same line. And then there are a few examples for those. And then there's a logical example. Like if you see there are if and else statements in these, which we are going to learn today. And then And these are a few more examples, like the real code examples that I have shown in my other videos. So this is actually what we're gonna do today. So we're gonna do two types of control statements, if and why. So let's go to our console for learning. So today we are going to learn some condition statements. So these condition statements are lines of code which help in setting a specific condition. It is used like if something is true, then a specific code would be run. If not, then that part would not be run. Or control statements can be defined as commands which can change the execution of a code. They help the computer do decision making and are very important. If statement is a statement used to execute a specific code if a condition is true. Its syntax is given as if and then the condition, and if it is true, then code. So like this part is very important, like the thing that comes at the end, the colon. Because it tells Python that if this is true, then only it would do it. So that is an important part that you have to do in all condition statements. And then the other code that has to be executed should be indented at least one tab or 4 spaces. So this is an example. X is equal to 1 and y is equal to 2. If x is equal to 1, print A and print B. If y is equal to 2, this is a nested if loop. Like if x is not equal to 1, then the y part would also not happen. So it is a nested loop. And then print C and D. Let's run this and see what answer we get. You get all A, B, C, D. But if I change this to a 0 and then save it and here, it does not show me the ABCD. So now the next thing we are going to learn is if else. So if else is similar to if statement, but if a condition is not true, then else will execute another code. So if statement is same as if, but if a condition is not true, then it executes another code. So a good practice for this can be to test whether a number given by the user is even or odd. So the syntax is almost the same, except now there's an else statement and the code if it is not. So name, like if I've set the name to Jiya, and if name is equal to Jiya, then it would print hello Jiya. But if it is not, then it would print hello there. Let's run this and see. So we got hello Jiya. But if I change it to if I simply just remove my y from my name and then do it, then it just says hello there. If else. So this is same as our previous statement, which is if else, but if checks for another condition. So a practice for this can be to test a number given by the user for divisibility with 2, 3, 5, 7 and 9. Or you can just do it with any 3 of these numbers. So it can be if there are when you should not use if, because if will only execute if this is false. If the first condition is false, then it would check for the second condition. If that is true, then this code would be run. If that is not true, then this statement would be run. there are some places like if you need like to test two conditions and like they do not depend on each other, like it can be like if so it is not important why is a statement which executes a piece of code a certain amount of time. Syntax for usage. Counter, like you have to do like one variable which counts. Like counter, any variable name, but there should be an integer in it. You cannot put like a string or a float. And then y counter is less than a number. Then do the code and add one, like if you are going sequentially like in order, or if you want skips then plus, or if you want skips then 2, and if you want to decrease the number then it can be -1. But in a y statement this is very important, like you have to keep on adding a number to the counter or it would become an infinity loop, and that causes an error and can cause your laptop to crash. Practice. So you can make a countdown like the one given below. You can ask the user to tell the time for the countdown. Even though it won't be time bound, so it would like tell all the numbers at one point of time only, like at one moment of time only. But it makes for a good. But it makes for a good practice. Countdown is equal to 10. Why countdown is less than 0, print it and they decrease it by 1. So if we run this, then you can see it count down from 10 to 1. So one extra thing in Python, condition statements don't require a bracket like it does in JavaScript. So in JavaScript, if you have to write a condition, you have to put it in brackets like this. But in Python, that is not necessary. But it is a good practice if you use the brackets, because if you have got two or more statements, or num is equal to 3, this is just take that only. So if num is equal to 3, you have to put equal to an if statement. Like in order conditional statements, you can't just write equal because it is used for an assignment operation. There should be a double equal to sign. That is very important. Now in this, Python can get confused. Like if num is equal to num or if it is equal to 0. Like if you have got two statements, if it is checking for two statements, then it is always a good idea to put them in brackets so that there aren't any bugs. So that's our class for today. So this time we have a project 2. So it mostly uses everything we have learned today now. So this is the project. So the project is to make a simple calculator using all the concepts that we have learned today now. So these include all of the concepts that I just told in the revision. It should be really simple and it can be like the user gives you two numbers, like it asks for two numbers and then it asks another question. Then it asks another question like what do you want to do? You want to add, subtract, multiply and that all stuff. And then it does that and sends it. So one thing that you would have to do for the numbers, like for when someone has put the numbers, is that you would have to convert the type to integers, only then your code will work. So that's our lesson, like our whole class for today. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again for watching and bye.